Hi, I'm Javier.
And I'm Karen.
And we are the Gov Geeks.
Today on this issue of Gov Geeks Assemble, Level Up Your 9 to 5 on 95, we'll be talking about how to ace your interview with Deadpool.
Deadpool. The Gov Geeks is all about getting in and getting ahead in government, and this podcast and this YouTube series is all about helping people do just that. So thank you so much for joining us. Today we're going to talk a little bit about that awesome interview that happened in Deadpool.
Bedlam. Cool name. Superpowers?
I can distort electrical fields, including the one inside your brain, causing anxiety, confusion, pain.
So basically you're Dave Matthews.
It was a pretty fun part of the movie, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed it. So we're going to have a lot of tie-ins to this, as well as some other fun things for you to help you get prepared for your interview, as well as for the next job or the current job that you're in as well.
Right, because as we've talked about before, part of getting another job is getting to that point where you can actually have an interview.
Yeah.
So you finally made it. You've made your resume, you've gone through the cert, you are selected for an interview.
Right, which is a big deal, because just because you're qualified and just because you're probably the best fit for the job, that doesn't mean that you're going to get called in for an interview, and that also doesn't mean that you're going to get selected for the position after your interview as well. So interviewing is a really, really big and important part of the application process.
So we've been contacted before, whether it's through friends or colleagues or clients, where they get through the process, they get to the interview, and then they're not selected.
Right.
And they don't understand why. Maybe this has happened several times, so they know they're qualified because they make it to that point, but they just can't get the job. So we go through and we identify what the possible issues could be.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the main things is to make sure that you are identifying your key qualifications. Sometimes somebody can look awesome on paper, but maybe you just get nervous in the interview, and when you get asked the questions, you freeze.
Right. And these could be folks that have decades of experience. This could be an individual that just got out of college and they're trying to get an entry-level position and all that. Just because you're really qualified, really experienced, and have a lot to offer, well, that doesn't mean that you're immune to feeling a little bit of a shyness or timidness when it comes to actually doing the interview. So it's perfectly fine, and it's acceptable, really.
Right. And some of the other problems could be grabbing the interviewer's attention
Right.
when you're going through your answers. So maybe you're rambling on, maybe you're not answering the question. So it's basically, you feel like you're losing them in the interview. You see them glazing over, you see them taking copious notes and not really looking at you.
Right.
So that could be another issue.
Hopefully they're not actually falling asleep while they're interviewing you, though. It could be a challenge.
No comment there.
No comment there, right?
So, and you want to demonstrate your fit, not only for the position, but for the culture of the organization as well. So that's a lot of times what they're looking for is, okay, we see on your resume that you could potentially do this job, but we want to see how will you fit with our culture.
Yeah, and that's all about you also feeling comfortable with what they're describing as the culture for you to fit into as well. Because you don't want to go to a place where you're not going to really fit in culturally. It might be something where they always do something where they're willing to stay a whole lot later, they leave earlier, or they just have different methods or approaches of how they look at their work. Sometimes it might be more collaboration, team-focused. Other places might be a little bit more isolated. And that's just the culture of the place. So knowing how you work and how you operate is an important factor of understanding how you're going to fit into those positions.
Exactly. As far as, what are your values? Do you value family, work-life balance, or do you value, working 80 hours a week, to get the job done? You want to make sure that you have that good fit, because maybe somebody who has that work-life balance and family values won't do so well in an organization where you mentioned that they're working, more, than a typical day, and they're working on weekends, they're working on holidays. You want to make sure that you have that good fit.
Of course. And also when it comes to holding the interviewer's attention, one of the services that we offer is working directly with our clients to help them see how they are coming across. So we do interviews and recording sessions. We picked this strategy up when Karen and I were in college and doing speech and debate. We would do practice speeches and we would record them to see what are the things that we continue to do that's a little annoying perhaps sometimes. And in the interview process, it could be if we're continually tapping our foot, or if we're not paying attention, we're not answering the question,
Or
we're
the
looking
filler
at
words like
kind of, or you keep going back and saying the same example over and over again, and you're not really providing a accurate representation of your career that you've had that would be applicable for this position. A lot of things like that. So interviewing isn't just about I get asked the question, I say the exact right thing, and then life is great. Suddenly the heavens open and the sun shines through, and all of a sudden the interviewer goes, this is the candidate, this is the person, put him to the top of the list, this person has to get chosen, give him a bonus.
Right, like Ralphie in Christmas Story.
The scene I've been waiting for all my life. Listen to this sentence. A Red Ryder BB gun, the compass in the stalk, and this thing which tells time. Poetry, sheer poetry, Ralph, and A+, my Ralph. Oh, have you made me Ralph?
Plus.
So you may not get that reaction, but and just a quick shout out to the University of Texas El Paso Speech and Debate Forensics team.
Forensics, go Miners.
Exactly. So that's where we learned a lot of our skills with public speaking.
Of course.
I just wanted to give accolades to them.
Where there are due.
Exactly. And one of the final things is just being confident. Maybe you have that lack of confidence, in your interview process.
Right.
So you just want to make sure that you try to do whatever you can to feel confident in what you can add to the organization and how you can succeed in that role.
And interviews themselves are a bit challenging because you're quite literally being evaluated, and no one likes to be placed in that type of a judgment type of position, under the microscope, if you will. So even if you have tons of experience, tons of degrees, qualifications, etc., it could be a bit frustrating to kind of sit there and have someone evaluate you and take notes and all of that stuff. But that's really how interviews are kind of seen. At this point, during the interview process, if you are sitting in that room, you are qualified for the position. It's already understood. The HR folks have already determined it. The computer systems have already evaluated whether or not you're a good fit. Your responses to the interview questions that are on the application on USA Jobs when you're applying, that has already gone through well. And then from there, the layers of review that have happened in order for you to be selected. So it could be the hiring manager, it could be a team of people that are evaluating resumes. You're in there because someone said, I think this is a good candidate. And there was enough people to buy into that. So yeah, they want you to do well. It's not like, let's pick them apart and try to find flaws or concerns. They really are rooting for you as well, because they know that you can do the work. They just want to see if you can be a good fit.
Well, and they're rooting for you because they want somebody who can do the position and be
Right.
a good fit, because they need that on their team. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been, posting that position in the first place. So
Right, that's true.
You're there to fill a need. An urgent need. So, especially in public service, we need those good people. So.
Agreed. Awesome.
So we've kind of talked through some of the possible issues that people run into. So I guess to take on some of these, whether it's too much pressure that's causing you to feel that everything falls onto this interview, you have to do well. We want to make sure that we've talked about this in one of our previous videos on how Star-Lord got the job, is kind of getting yourself into that headspace and that mentality before you go into whether it's the interview or a presentation. So sometimes do that in our day-to-day, no matter what kind of is giving us pressure or giving us angst. You want to kind of take that time to relax a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, if you were to think about a golf swing, for instance, or even a baseball swing. So the glove, or it's the bat or the club, as we're swinging it, has enough bend or flexibility to it so that when it hits the ball, it's able to launch it forward. It can't be like too strict or too rigid. Same thing if you're using a bow and you pull the bow back, there has to be enough bend and flexibility to allow the string to come back to really give it enough power. The same thing is really true when you're looking at an interview process. I mean, if you're too stiff and rigid and you're too focused and constructed on your comments and such, it's not really going to come across well. Because again, like Karen said, they're trying to identify if you're going to be a good fit for the organization, for the culture. So if you are not who you are and you're portraying something else, that's not really going to be genuine or authentic. And that's something that comes across when you're speaking with people. So being relaxed, being who you are is really good.
Right, not being too robotic, but still, sometimes you may not know what to say. So they ask you a question and you're scrambling for how to respond to it. So, that could be one of the other issues.
It's definitely something. And being true to yourself. So we're recording this on National Bow Tie Day. So I was sure to wear my fun bow tie and bow tie earrings, because this is honestly just who we are. Being comfortable with who you are in an interview and just in your day-to-day activities is really key. Yeah.
And you want to see how you can describe your value. So your value to the organization, to the position, and just knowing your own value, right? Like Agent Carter.
Know your value.
My value.
Thank you. How can you just sit there and take that?
Daniel.
I'm going to tell that senator what really happened. Hell, I'll tell Truman himself.
It really doesn't bother me.
Well, it bothers the hell out of me. I saved that jerk's life.
I don't need a congressional honor. I don't need Agent Thompson's approval or the president's. I know my value. Anyone else's opinion doesn't really matter.
That's kind of my mantra at my work, so I try to continually give myself that message.
Karen has some cool pops in her office, and one of them is
Funko
Agent
Pops.
Carter. Funko Pops, exactly. So we've been talking a lot about interviews, how to perform in the room and everything. And let's also look at Deadpool and really that interview process. So in the movie, he's sitting there. They realize that this is going to be a big issue, challenge, and they need more people. So they need to hire on people. So they say, all right, time to update our LinkedIn profile. They go out there, they identify candidates, and then they start bringing them in for interviews. And one of them, Domino, had a couple of back and forths, but she was really holding true to who she was, right?
Meet.
Domino.
What's your shtick?
I'm lucky.
That's not a superpower.
Yeah, it is.
No, it isn't.
Yes, it is.
No, it isn't.
Yeah, it is.
No, it isn't.
It is.
No, it isn't.
Yeah, it is.
It really isn't.
No, it isn't.
Yes, it is.
Told you.
Get out of my head!
I'm not in your head. I'm in an 11-year-old's bedroom.
Well, if you're so lucky, then what are you doing here with us?
Oh, well, I don't know yet.
What's that supposed to mean?
There's a reason why I'm here, and I'll know when I know. Everything usually just kind of works out for me.
Like 2008 Ryan Reynolds.
I don't know who that is.
You're hired.
Lucky me.
I like her.
She is holding true to her value that, she knows her value is she's lucky. And you can see that throughout the rest of the movie, how, okay, maybe this could be a superpower, so.
Yeah, it's pretty cool how all of that plays out. And then, of course, we've been watching the next series. I think it's on Prime. Amazon Prime, yeah, The Boys, which is another great one. And it's also trying to hold true to who we are as individuals as well, right? Starlight had some of that, if I remember right.
Right. So again, spoiler alert if you haven't watched it. So Starlight, and we won't go into too much detail, but she's going through, and her dream her entire life was to be a part of this elite superhero group. So she gets a chance to interview with them, and she gets the job. She gets a position within this elite superhero group, and she's super excited, and there's just something that happens as far as she questions her, decision and if she's a good fit for the culture.
I was born super abled, and I always wanted to save the world. I got the job. I'm so sorry. I don't know what that was.
Please welcome Starlight.
This is what American heroes are. Wow.
We have some brilliant ideas on how to capitalize on all the buzz.
Hello, Starlight.
I can't wear that.
So, that's where she starts to struggle through that. But that's where it's key as far as she can do the job. She's great at being, the superhero that she is. But she has her specific core values that don't quite align with this organization.
Right. And it's good for her to know who she is and the role that she needs to play. And in her interview, the audio that she had done, it was a recording that she submitted. She was really genuine about why she wanted to be part of the organization. And that was something that when the individuals that were reviewing the applications and the resumes saw that, they really connected with that because she was true and genuine to why she wanted to do it, why she wanted to be there. And at the end of the day, in your jobs, you're going to spend so much time with these people. Day in, day out. Sometimes we spend more time at work than we do with our actual families, with our loved ones. So it's also good for us as individuals as well. We want to make sure that we're in a good place where we feel supported, where we feel that we can do the stuff that we want to do, our careers. So that's really important.
Right. Exactly.
So what are some solutions, Karen?
So some solutions could be, with the issues that we run across, whether it's conveying the qualifications, is to have responses by theme. Kind of think of them as bucket responses, but it's just being more prepared with the different responsibilities. Some organizations will have specific one-word responsibilities or values or tasks that they're trying to hire for. So sometimes you'll see like collaboration mentioned a lot, or conflict resolution, project management,
audit
leadership. So you want to make sure that you have different examples for each of those scenarios, because like Javier mentioned in the beginning, you don't want to continually say the same response over and over again.
And Karen and I were talking recently also, it's important to make sure that you bring in a copy of the job announcement.
Right.
Because there's been some times where you were interviewing someone who didn't even realize it was supposed to be in a different city or state, the position.
Right. Exactly. Went through the whole process. You clearly submitted your resume, contacted for an interview, and throughout this whole process don't realize that the job is in a completely different state.
Oops. So, and that's an example where a person really gets remembered, but for the wrong reasons. So later on, when their name comes up on another cert, and they're brought in, the odds are they're not really going to be brought back in for an interview if the person doing the interviews knows that this is some of the history that the person is bringing. Because if they're not going to take the time to read the announcement before the job interview, how are they going to do when they're actually working on the job?
Right.
These are just like little indicators that as an interviewer, red flags. Yeah.
So and how we mentioned in our previous podcast on how to not, have your resume like a stormtrooper, you want to make sure you're reading that posting, not just the duties and responsibilities, but all the specifics, like is there a lot of travel? Where is it located? All of that. You want to make sure that you're actually reading it, not just throwing your resume out there just to get out of your current position.
Right, which I know, and we were talking about that the other day as well. So it's important to want to grow in your career and to mature in your responsibilities and all of that as well. But if someone says in an interview, so why are you interested in leaving your current position? A question like that, you don't want to say something like, oh, I have to get out. I will take literally anything. I'm desperate to get out.
May be true, but let's not have the full disclosure, in the beginning.
Sure. We want to connect it to why, or what are the connecting points, the points of authenticity. So You want to be genuine about why you're interested in leaving. It could be that the requirements of the job, the staying late, the type of hours, or maybe you're just interested in expanding your skill set. You want to learn something new. You want to apply some different types of skills, perhaps, that you've established. Maybe you feel like you need a new challenge and you've been doing the other job for a while. All of these are good reasons for wanting to kind of seek out another opportunity.
You just want to make sure that you go in there with those, responses, and that's a part of being prepared and having talking points.
Right.
So you want to make sure that you practice. So it's a lot of things. It's about practice and just getting comfortable so you can build up that confidence that, yeah, I can do this. I can answer whatever question you throw at me.
Right.
So that could be, mock interviews. We've done mock interviews with, friends or clients that have, been struggling with, okay, I want to feel prepared before I go into that room, because who knows if it's, a lunch type interview, a panel interview, which people get very stressed out about the panel interviews because you have 3 or 4 people on one side of the table and you on another, and it's just very intimidating. So you just want to try to prepare for that, and more times than not, you'll be prepared as far as what type of interview this will be.
And that's part of the questions that you can ask when you're being scheduled. You could say, is this a panel interview? Is this the first round of interviews? Is there any more information you can tell me about it? So you can be prepared for that type of interview.
Exactly.
And then having prepared statements is always good as well. So having the mock interviews, the practices and all of that, you can bring notes into the interview as well. In fact, I think that's something that's encouraged.
Bring notes, bring the job description, bring copies of your resume.
Writing samples, something that could really demonstrate that you can do the type of work that's needed. If it's like a finance position, if you need to bring tables, spreadsheets, yes, good spreadsheets, demonstrating your skills. If it's a video production, if you need to have copies of materials that you can display or share, those sorts of things are really helpful in an interview process to demonstrate the work that you can do. And even if it isn't something that you go over during the interview, it's something that you can leave behind as well.
Right, always be prepared and have leave behinds if you need to. Yeah, so and then when you're doing these responses, you want to be sure that you're using the STAR approach.
Is that like Starlight from the boys?
Starlight, Star Laboratories, pick and choose.
Star Laboratories, perfect.
But essentially it's the situation, task, action, and result.
The result, exactly. So it's not just like, I process X amount of widgets, or this is my job day in, day out. Well, what is that connection to the importance of the organization?
Or what is that impact?
Right. What is the impact? And then from there, take the next step and to say that these results in the STAR approach, those results, that's something that you can tie to the organization. So by understanding a little bit more about the organization, reading the job description, looking at the website, talking to people that work there, you could say something like, well, I understand that you have these types of projects and this type of experience could possibly be of value for you, and this is how I would like to help contribute. So this way you're not just saying, well, I think I can do it, just throw me whatever the work is and I'll get it done. You're demonstrating that you can do it. You have documentation. You're bringing that with you. You're using your references to say that this person has done this, they've done that, they've had these types of accomplishments.
Right.
And I don't know if you heard the airplane. We just passed the airport.
Yeah, and you want to make sure that, with all of that, you're stating those examples, you're using the STAR approach, you're showing the impact, but you also just want to make sure that you're answering the question.
Answer the question.
You can have these great examples, but if you can't tie it back to the actual question, the actual mission, and then by showing that you're doing the research on the organization itself, that shows a lot, because that means, wow, they, as a hiring manager, they really want to work here. They know, our hierarchy, they know some of the projects we're working on, that shows a genuine interest on your part. So overall, it shows that you're organized, you're prepared, and you really want the position. Now, will that guarantee you're going to get it? No, but it will lead you more towards that path and improve your prospects.
Yeah, definitely. And asking these sorts of questions will help establish a rapport and a relationship, because what you're doing in talking to the hiring managers is you're building upon that relationship. My supervisor now, we go back and we say just some different things from my interview, and he refers back to the time that we had a chance to talk, and he's like, yeah, one of the questions that I asked you was, X, Y, and Z, and your response was one of the reasons why I selected you for the position, and I thought that you could be a good fit. And one, it's just nice hearing a response like that, just in a casual conversation later on with your boss. But really, again, you're building rapport, you're building that relationship. There's times where you work in career fields for years, so you want to have these good relationships. And this is the type of person that you're going to be, again, working with directly. So have a good relationship.
And you can always we're talking about, official interviews for positions right now, but you can always do informational interviews.
Right.
So if there's a position or a type of position that you're interested in, maybe a forensic accountant or something like that, but you're not sure if you want to go that route, you can always reach out to somebody who has that position and just request an informational interview to see, what their day-to-day is like. What was their career path? What degrees did they have to, get in order to be in this position?
Mm-hmm.
And somebody is hitting the reverse lights.
It's never good to put on your reverse lights
on an on-ramp.
On an on-ramp. So that just happened to us.
So yeah, you just want to make sure that, in your career, you don't hit the reverse lights, right? You want to keep moving forward.
Keep moving forward.
So,
exactly. Yeah, especially, again, on an on-ramp. This is your opportunity to get on the road, and you don't want to just back out of it and then cause other problems to happen.
Right, so having that informational interview to see if you want to go onto that path will always help.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's just, not necessarily an interview, but, informational interview, which just kind of gives you an idea of maybe a career that you're looking into getting into.
Yeah, it's stuff like that you just can't plan on the commute.
So we also have, the services that we as the Gov Geeks can provide for these types of things, whether it's resume prep, mock interviews, general career coaching. We're definitely available, and you can find that on our website.
That's right. Yeah, head out to thegovgeeks.com for all of that. We're going to be scheduling some webinars here pretty soon as well, with some good success tips and all that. Give you an opportunity to ask some questions, interact a little bit more, and talk to your fellow Gov Geeks out there. Also, if you are listening to this on iTunes, thank you so much. Please subscribe. If you wouldn't mind, please also write us a review. And if you feel that the sessions have been worthwhile and helpful for you, please feel free to give us a 5-star rating. That would be very helpful for the podcast. If you're watching this on YouTube, awesome, welcome. Thank you very much. You can subscribe. Also, please be sure to click the little bell, so this way you can be notified as soon as our videos are posted and up there. Also, take a look at all of our other content. We have lots of great videos, interviews with some good experts in their fields who can share some really great information and tips for you. If you're on Instagram, we're there as well. If you're on Twitter, we're there. If you're on Facebook, LinkedIn, please follow us. We try to be as engaging and out there as possible to give you the information that you need to be able to do well at your job, and then as a result, help the public. That's what this is all about.
Right? Exactly. And thank you to the public servants out there. We're definitely here for you. This is why we do it. And if there's anything that we can provide, feedback-wise, please let us know. Any topics you want us to cover. Some of you have reached out with some good topics, so we'll, get to those. So anything you want to hear about, this channel is for you to make sure that you have what you need to succeed as a public servant, or if you just want to get into
public service. Yeah, absolutely. It's a noble profession. It's really serving the good of others, and I think that's something that we really are passionate about. So yeah, and for those of you that suggested some Dungeons and Dragons references and some videos, all of that is coming up soon as well. Very excited about that. We're writing up our next scripts and topics, so stay tuned.
Right. So we want to just kind of go over what we've talked about already. So the problems as far as, being confident and not knowing what to say and, showing your value. You just want to be prepared with those talking points, whether it's through mock interviews, just practicing, writing out your responses, being prepared in the interview. You want to try to make sure that you impress Deadpool, and you're like Domino, where you hold tight to your convictions as far as, yes, luck is a superpower.
Exactly.
So you can hold your own in the interview process. So some bonus tips that I would have is bonus. So a couple bonus tips, or actually 3 bonus tips. So one of them is be prepared with at least a few questions for the organization when you're there in the interview. As a hiring manager, when you're there, and then at the end when we say, okay, do you have any questions? If there's crickets, they're like, nope, no questions. You want to be prepared with some quality questions, not just like, well, when's my vacation time?
Right.
Or, something that you want to show that you've looked into the organization, like maybe you've seen that they're working on a specific project, and you can ask, well, I see that you're working on this project. What project tools do you have within your organization that can help me track the progress of that project, the budget, the tasks? So something like that, where you're showing that you're interested in the position and you've done your research. So quality questions.
Showing that you're interested in the position is something big, because in the earlier rounds in the interview process, one of the questions that the hiring manager would ask of the people doing the interviews is something like, if I offer the person this position, what do you think they'll say? Do you think that they're interested? How enthused do you think they are about working here? Those are some of the things that you can help really answer ahead of time by indicating your interest and describe why you actually even want to be there in the responses and everything. Because, you want to offer an opportunity for someone to come on board who is actually interested in being there rather than just like, okay, is this a person that's just going to be, bored out of their mind? Are they really going to want this? That sort of a thing.
Right. And this is your chance to interview them, right, as far as the culture. So if it would be a good fit. So you want to ask questions that will help you gauge that, to see if that would help your decision in, okay, is this culture really a good fit for me?
Yeah.
So this is your opportunity.
This is your opportunity. Right. Exactly right.
So instead of, do you have any questions? Nope.
Just because they would offer the position to you doesn't mean that you have to take the position. Just because you're in a position that you don't like doesn't mean that you have to stay there. So really, make the decisions based upon things that you care about.
Right. Another bonus tip is, once you're done with the interview, it's always good to write a thank you note or a thank you email to not only the interviewers but anyone else involved in the hiring process that you came in contact with. Mm-hmm. So this is the HR personnel that contacted you or anything like that, just to say thank you, because it is a lot of work and a tough job to try to be going through these processes. So
yeah, it's very challenging because everyone else is looking to the people conducting the interviews and doing all of that process to find a good candidate for everyone to work with. They're responsible for that, and they have other jobs and duties to do. So if they need to take off that time to make sure that they have the right person brought on board, yeah, why wouldn't you say thank you?
Right. And finally, let's say you go through the process and you have the interview and you're not selected.
Oh.
So it happens.
It happens.
But what you do with that is what can make the difference. So you could always reach out to whether it's the hiring manager or the interviewers, mm-hmm. to ask for feedback. This will help you in your future interviews to see, maybe there was some sort of nonverbal that you had, or maybe you weren't quite answering the questions, or you were, dragging on with your answers. You weren't succinct enough, or you didn't, let's say, show the result, the impact in your answers. So that will help you to progress, right? So feedback is always good, and no matter what we're doing. But in this case, most interviewers and hiring managers will be happy to offer some feedback because, that's why we're sitting there taking notes. Is we jot down some of the, the high points or identifiers that we want to make sure to help us to make a determination if we want.
And these are people that already saw that you were qualified. They looked at your resume, they have a good understanding, and they also have a non-biased opinion, really, of the whole thing. So they're able to see you and help provide some additional insights that might be of value. Plus, you're expanding your network just a bit more. It might be where you are not necessarily the best fit for that position, but they know of other positions, or that they can recommend that you talk to other people. And then that, in and of itself, may lead to other positions and opportunities. Plus, here's something that's really great that can happen in government. You not only get to select people based upon the certifications for that particular job, but you can hire people off of a cert from another job or another announcement. So you made that cert, that's why you're sitting in there for the interview. And it's possible, if you weren't selected for that one, that another person could hire you from that certification that you already made. And that could just be like a referral. You go over there, you talk to the other person, and have a separate interview with them. Bam. You don't have to fill out another resume, another application. You're already in the door. You might as well just talk to people that are in the lobby.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's basically, what we call ready to hires is there's kind of like a pool of people who have already cleared the first part of the process and tied to those specific job series that we've already talked about on OPM's website. If you're looking for a MAPA and there are a
management and program analyst.
Right, and if there's already an approved list of MAPAs that are ready to be hired and the resumes look good to you, you can select to interview them. So, again, right, if you didn't get this job.
And plus, if a person's who had the chance to interview you feels really good about your qualifications, when they're talking to the other hiring manager, they can say, had a chance to talk with them, interviewed them, they weren't particularly a good fit for this one or the other, but you might find them of interest, and they are on this ready to hire list. Maybe you should check them out.
Right, and if you're in the DC area, DC is a small town in that respect, meaning that, some hiring managers may talk to one another, so you want to make sure that you don't burn bridges.
Right, don't want to do that.
Even when you're leaving your previous job, right? You don't just want to burn that bridge because you never know when it's gonna, come right back to that person. Maybe they move to that organization and then you burn that bridge and, that could be an issue. So you want to try to maintain those relationships, as we were mentioning.
Well, I think we covered a whole lot today, right? Yeah, we went over just so much. So I think that this might even be something for us to circle back on and have another conversation about in another podcast coming up soon. But we hope you found this very enjoyable and engaging, even the bonus tips that we had here as well. But we look forward to seeing you with the next one.
Right, and hopefully these videos are something of value to you. So please let us know that so that we can know to continue on this road, so we don't hit the reverse lights if we don't need to.
Exactly. Give us some good feedback.
And hope you all have a great bow tie day.
All right. Geek on. So it could be, it's just a very challenging environment because
I don't know what just hit our
we're driving along the GW Parkway, and a nice little piece of fruit fell from one of the trees onto the car right now. That was pretty cool.